Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today we are going to start from the JavaScript arrow functions. JavaScript arrow function was introduced in AC in the version of EC6 ES6. Arrow function allows us to write shorter functions and tags. Okay, hello is equal to a function that should return hello world. Arrow function allows allow us to write shorter functions and tags. Before the function is this, hello is equal to function that should return the hello world. Let me do it in my side. We will keep trying hands-on experience with the learning of the topics or chapters in this tutorial. Let it get started. I am going to open a file of JavaScript program. Lecture must be on the JavaScript variable should be index.html. So firstly, let me remove the previous code and the code of script. Okay. So what I need to do here, I should have to create a function, a variable hello, and assign the value to the function. We should call the function hello. Okay, so variable hello should be didn't declare, not declare it, and now we're trying to declare it is equal to function that should be sorry that should return what hello world. Okay, so now I'm going to call it get element bar demo inner HTML should be equal to what hello function. So let me save it and run it in the browser. Now it is showing the hello world. So now what we are going to do, we are going to sort it by arrow function. With arrow function, hello is equal to function equal to hello world. In the short text form, we don't need to write the function here. We should need to write a arrow function. Should be equal to return hello world. Okay, so here what we are going to do, we are going to write a arrow function that syntax is equal to this if I am right here. So still the result is the same. Let's move to the next chapter. It gets shorter if the function has only one statement and the function returns the value. You can remove the brackets and return keyword. Okay, we can also remove the brackets and return keyword in arrow function. It gets this shorter if the function has only one statement and the statement returns the value. You can remove the brackets and return keyword. So what I am going to do, I am going to remove the return keyword, also the brackets. That should return us this. Saved. Still the result is same. Okay. No, this works only if the function has only one statement. This function will work only if we have only one parameter. If the function have only one parameter, okay. Arrow function with parameters hello value. Hello equal is equal to hello plus value. What value is universal? Universal is the value. Yes, because it is in the parameter. Universal assigned to valve assigned to will be declared here. Okay, so what I want to do, I want to pass a parameter value with concatenation value. Okay, so what I will pass here, I'll pass a universe, universe. Hello world, the universe. So now we have passed a parameter to the function. Write a argument also. If we will not write the argument here, then it will show only hello world. Now concatenation with argument. Okay. If you have the parameter, you pass them inside the parentheses. Okay. In fact, if you have only one parameter, you can skip the parentheses as well. Okay. So if we have one parameter, then we can remove the parentheses. Still, the result is same. So arrow function without parentheses. Well, what is about this? The handling of this is also different in arrow function compared to the regular function. Okay. In short, with arrow function there are no binding of this. In short, with arrow function there is no binding of this keyword. The regular function in this keyword represent the object that calls the function, which could be the window, the document, a button, or whatever. In a regular function, this keyword represents the object that calls the function, which could be window, the document, the button, or whatever. With arrow function, this keyword always represents the object that defines the arrow function. Let's take a look at two examples of understanding the difference. Both examples call a method twice, first when the page loads and once again when the user clicks a button. The first example uses a regular function, the second example uses a arrow function. Uses a regular function and the second one uses the arrow function. Results show the first example return to the different object window and button. The results show the first example return two different objects, window and button. And the second example returns the window object twice, because the window object is the owner of the function. And this is the object window, and this is the regular function, this is the arrow function. Regular function, arrow function. So in the regular function, click me. object HTML button element. Hello what? Hello is equal to function document.get element by id inner HTML plus is equal to this. Variable hello. Hello is equal to function document.get element by id demo inner HTML is equal to plus this. Then it will show the type of the function. Object HTML button element id button. Window object calls the function window.event listener load and hello. Add event listener load and hello. A button object calls the function document.get element by id button dot event add event listener click hello. Button add event listener click and pass the value hello. Okay, let me try it here. Variable hello, declare the variable hello. Now we're going to assign hello is equal to what function. It should be arrow function or no, it shouldn't be arrow function because we are trying this keyword with the function regular function. Function it should do this. This function should call document.get element by id document.get element by id demo inner HTML. Inner HTML is equal to what? Is equal to this keyword plus also this line of code. Okay, no result. So let's move to next. In the next, the window object calls the function window dot add event handler add event listener dash to load but hello function. So window dot event handler add event listener function method load. What should it do? Load hello. Hello variable. Still no changes. So now we are going to do a button that calls the function. We need to add a button and it should be btn and call me is equal to variable. So let's add a button tag id should be equal to what? Btn link me. So now we are going to call this document.getElement by id document.get by button. When you click on this button, this would be is equal to this add event listener. Click hello. Click is the add event listener and it should represent the hello HTML button element. Add event listener. It should when we click on it, click and hello variable. So now let me click on it. Didn't do anything. Why? Variable hello. Hello is equal to function. This should return object. It didn't do. Let me check. Hello is equal to what? Where is the error? I really don't know. Yes, this function is in the small letter. So now object window. After click, what does it do? There is no object window. Why does it occur? Because of this. Okay. So in the hello function, it should return this. What is this? This is a event handler click. So when we return this object, this is the object HTML button element. What we does click, we click on this, and this is the HTML button element. Okay. So let me try it in the arrow function. Object window. Hello is equal to arrow function. Parenthesis arrow function document get element by id dot inner html plus is equal to this. Window call the function. Window dot add event listener load hello. But object calls the function. So what we are going to do? We are going to add it as the arrow function. Object window still the object window well. So let's move these. Remember these differences when you are working with the function. Sometimes the behavior of the regular function is what you want. If not, use arrow function. Okay. The following table defines the first browser version with the support for arrow function in the JavaScript. These are the browsers that support the arrow function. JavaScript classes. JavaScript classes. JavaScript ACMA JavaScript 2015, also known as AS6, introduced JavaScript classes. Okay. JavaScript classes are templates for JavaScript objects. JavaScript class syntax. Use the class to create a class. Class name, constructor. Always add a method constructor. Add a method name constructor. That should construct. But example: class car constructor name and year. This dot name is equal to name. This dot year is equal to year. Their above level creates a class named car. Their class has two initial properties, name and year. JavaScript class is not an object. It is a template for JavaScript objects. Using a class, when you have a class, you can use the class to create objects. When you have a class, you can use the class to create the object. Let variable my car is equal to new car Ford 2015. This is object. Oh, this is the object. Looking like an array, but is in the class. The example above uses the car class to create two car objects. Class car constructor name year. This dot name is equal to name. This dot year is equal to year. Constructor method and class and constant. My car is equal to new car. Ford 2015. Name and the year. Document.get element by id dot demo inner html is equal to my car dot name plus concatenation my car string concatenation my car dot here. What is my car is the object of the class. Pass the value to the class. So let's make a class. Variable car is equal to what? This is the class. Construct method constructor. So in the constructor, yes, we will pass two parameters name and year. So we are going to send the value. This dot name is equal to name. this dot name is equal to name, this dot year is equal to year. So now we are going to create the object variable my car. This is object new car, new car. Now in the new car class we are going to pass the two parameters. Name should be Honda and the year should be 2012. So we have created the object my car of class, object of the class my car, named my car, and it should be with the constant variable. Constant variable, it should be with the let variable. Why? Because of the scope of the function. Constant variable my car is this. Now we are going to enter the call method. Start get element by id. Document dot get element by id. Demo dot inner html is equal to this dot. No, my car dot name concatenation my car object dot gear. So now what is the error? Let's see. Demo, demo. Okay. Constant variable my car. My car, the new car. Car is the let variable for 2015. Where is the error? I really don't know. Constructor let car. In the class we don't need to add is equal to. This is the class because this is the class. So now it should answer. Still it didn't do anything. No problem. This is the class, not a let variable. We have created the class from 2012. Class name car. Constructor name. We should pass the parameters and assigning the arguments to the values stored in the this dot name. This dot name is equal to name. This dot year is equal to year. So now we are going to call by these. Okay, my class get variable should call year. What is year? Year is get it by this parameter to this, and this will store to this. Okay. So let me close it. The example above use the car class to create two car objects. But I used only one car object. Why? The constructor method is called automatically when a new object is created. Constructor method. What is constructor method? Constructor method is a special method. It has the It has to have the exact name constructor. It is executed automatically when a new object is created. Okay. It is used to initialize object properties. Okay. If you do not define a constructor method, JavaScript will add an empty constructor method. Constructor method. Okay, let me try. What I am going to here. What I am going to here going to add the parentheses and the parameter. This is parentheses, parameter name and year. Okay, so then there is no result because of removing the constructor. Class method are created with the same syntax as object method. As the object method. Okay. Use the keyword class to create a class. Add always add a constructor method. Okay. Then add any number of method. Then add any number of methods. Create a class called named age that returns the car age. Create a create a class method named age that should call the age of the car. Okay. That is going to be superb because we can know the age of the person, the age of anything. Class car constructor is named here. This not name. It is year is equal to year. So there is another method called age. There is another class method age. Let date is equal to new date. What we have done, we have clicked the date. We have getted the today date and stored into this get variable. Okay. Return it should return but date.getFullYear method minus days.year. It should return what is the date now minus this dot year. It will minus this one. So now what we are going to do, we are going to call the years old myCar.age. MyCar is the object of the car method. Now we are going to get the age of the car. Wow, super. So let me try it myself. We created a method called age method. In the age method, that we create a date variable date should store the date current date. If I have stored the current date, then I should it should return 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 to the age. What should it return? Date dot get full year. What is the full year? minus this that has entered the consumer this dot here. So now we are going to call but my car age is but the car age is my car dot age method. It should call the age method. So let's see. Car age is 9 years. Concatenation years. Okay. Now what I am going to do, my age. Let me suppose this is the class of my person age. So my age is years what if my birthday is 1997, then it should return but my age is 24 years. Wow. If I pass my age is 200, then it should return my age is 21. Super. This is my age. It should return this variable to this year and it should return this value to this year. Now I'm going to access this value by in the age method here and return the answer to this age of the return the answer to the age method. Now I'm going to call. Now I have called the age method of class car my car that's showing is there. Wow, super. My age is 21 years old. Okay, let's move to the next function. You can send parameter to class method. You can send parameter to the class method. Okay, what is it going to say? Age, there is a parameter x, return x minus this year. What is x? You can send parameters to the class object. Age x method. Age, the parameter is x. Okay. Let date is equal to new date. The value of date has been stored. Let year is equal to date dot get full year. Full year would be is equal to will be equal to in this year. Let my car new car object document dot get element by ID my car dot age passing the parameters here. So what is the parameters here? This year. Year is this year. this will come from here, and this will come from there, from here. So now what is the real mean to say? Return X. Hmm. So now the year will goes here, and this will return X. So now in minus this year, return X minus this year. What is the X? They get year minus this year. 2015 minus this. So what it's going to do, pass the parameters to the value of x, and x is my return. It should return the age method, but x minus this year. What is this year? This year is 14 in minus x. Okay. We are going to pass this value to the year. Okay. Let this is the value of 2022. 2021 is the this date. So the date is now 2021. It should get this value, and this value should be stored in this x variable, x parameter. The x parameter is 2021 minus this dot year. Okay, I got it now. So what I am going to do, I am going to remove x. So now for the parameter x. So where does it get the value? We are going to come out from the class. Get the variable date, new date of that. Okay, now let variable here would be is equal to what? Would be is equal to date dot get full get full year. Okay, so get full year method returns this variable. Now what we are going to do? We are going to pass the variable value here. Here. Still the age is 21 years. Okay, let me move the value to the 2015 6 years. Okay, let me remove the variables. Current year, current year. See the current year. So let me pass the value current year. Okay, so still it is representing the same value. It could also be any, and it could also be any minute. Still the difference is same. So let's move to the real function. Okay, that was interesting. The concept of the classes have been done. Classes spotted in the browsers Chrome, Explorer, Firefox, etc. You will learn a lot. You will learn a lot more about JavaScript classes later in this tutorial. Okay. Now what we are going to learn? We are going to learn JSON. JSON. JavaScript on. JSON is a format of storing and transforming data. Transporting data. JavaScript JSON. JavaScript is a format for storing and transforming data. Okay. For storing and transforming data. JSON is often used when data is sent from a server to a web page. JSON is often used when data is sent from a server to a web page. Okay, to a web page. What is JSON? JSON is JSON is often used when the data is sent from server to a web page. Okay. What is JSON? JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation. JavaScript Object Notation. Okay. JSON is a lightweight data interchange format. Lightweight data interchange format. JSON is a language independent. JSON is a language independent. JSON self-describing and easy way to understand. Is self-describing and easy to understand. Okay. JSON syntax is derived from JavaScript object notation syntax, but the JSON format is text only. Okay. Code for reading and generating JSON data can be written in any programming language. Code for reading and generating the JSON JSON data can be written in any programming language. Okay. The JSON syntax is derived from JSON expression, but the JSON format is the text only. The code for reading and generating JSON data can be written in any programming language. JSON example. This JSON syntax defines an implies object. An array of three implies an array of three implies records objects. This is array. An array of implies array implies records objects. Array object. This is the object, but this is the array. Okay. Defines implies object. An array of three implies record object. Implies array in which object first name is equal to John, last name is equal to Doy, first name is equal to Nawal, last name is Smith, first name is Peter, last name is John. JSON. The JSON format evaluates the JavaScript object. Evaluates the JavaScript object. The JavaScript JSON format Json, 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 object notation. Format is syntactically syntactically identical to the code for creating JavaScript object. JavaScript object notation format is syntactically identical to the code for creating JavaScript objects because of similarity. A JavaScript program can easily convert JSON data, JavaScript object notation JSON object notation data and data into native JavaScript objects. Okay. Because of this similarity, a JavaScript program can easily convert JSON data into native JavaScript object. JSON syntax rule. Data is in name. JSON syntax rules. JavaScript is in name values pairs. JavaScript is in name value pairs or value pairs. Data is separated by name or value pair. Okay. Data is separated by commas. Okay. Curly braces hold bracket objects well and good. Squares or brackets hold arrays well and good. This is the syntax of the JSON rules. JSON and data a name and a value. JSON is written as name value pair just like JavaScript object properties. Okay. A name value pair consists of field name in double quotes followed by a column followed by a value followed by a column followed by a value. This is the object of the JavaScript. JSON names require double quotes. JavaScript names do not. Okay. If the name consists of the double quotes, then it means to say that this is in the JSON variable object notation. If the value without the double quotation, that means to say that this is the object of the JavaScript. JavaScript name do not. Okay. JavaScript objects are written inside curly braces. JSON object written inside the curly braces just like in JavaScript object can contain multiple names values pairs. JSON arrays. JSON arrays are written inside the square brackets. This is square bracket. Just like in JavaScript, an array can contain objects. We have learned about it already in the JavaScript. In the example above, the object implies is an array. This is an array. It contains three objects and it contains three objects. Okay. Each object is a record of person with first name and the last name. Okay. Converting a JSON text to JavaScript object. A common use of JSON is to read data from a web server and display the data in the web page. For simplicity, that can be demonstrated by using a string as input. A string as input. Okay. First create a JavaScript string containing JSON syntax. String text is equal to what? This is the string that ends with this, and this is the This is the syntax of the concatenation this, concatenation this. Before it wasn't the concatenation. It wasn't in the name of the concatenation. So now we are going to converting the JSON data into JavaScript string. Into JavaScript string. First create the JavaScript string containing the JSON syntax. Concatenation this is the string. Okay. That's end with this. Starts with this. And so on. Then use the JavaScript built-in function JSON.parse to convert the string into JavaScript objects. If we want to convert the string into JavaScript object, then we use this method. Parse. Variable object is equal to JSON.parse into text. Variable object is equal to JSON.parse in the method will pass the string, that is the text string. Finally, the use of new object in JavaScript object in your page. Finally, use the new JavaScript object in your page. Okay. Document.get element by id them the inner HTML is equal to object dot implies one. Implies what is the implies? It is the array, and we are going to pass the index of 1. That should be 2 plus concatenation object implies last name. 1 dot last name. Let's see in the unassuming. This is the first one. Dot first name. Jack dot last name is the announcement. So what is this? This is a array called employees. So we can also create the employees. Okay, let's first create the JSON array. Let's first create the JSON array. So we are going to JSON array employee. Then I'm going employees. Hmm? Employees. That should be named with employees. This is one employees. Okay. So employees, what they should do? There should be the objects name concatenation string first name first name value the last name value must be money. Okay, for this testing purpose. Okay, so let me make three objects. This is the Mustaq, Muhammad Mustaq, Muhammad Mustaq, this should contain the error. So now my Json array is ready. So now I have to convert it into the JavaScript object. Json text into the JavaScript object variable. Text is equal to concatenation. Then where this curly bracket is used, before it wasn't going to use. So it means to say that we have to write all the code of the implied in the curly brackets. Okay, curly bracket, curly bracket x, curly bracket y. Yes, it's okay. Okay, so now concatenation. So now it should also with the concatenation. Am I going correctly? Yes, I am going correctly. So this all must be with concatenation. This all also must be with concatenation. That we also go back and this one. So the value has become in the concatenation. In a string, now I have converted all the value to a string. Okay, so what I have to do now? Now I have to create a object, variable object that should pass object that should pass sorry that should pass the JSON object JSON dot pass method int value text variable. Now I have converted the JSON text into the JavaScript variable object. Okay, so now I'm going to call the JavaScript object document dot get element by ID where demo inner html is equal to is equal to what object dot first name object of what object it should get the index 1 syntax of the array 1 dot first name. Let me see get dot implies one sorry object dot this is the method of calling the object. Okay, dot what should it be imply dot imply index should be 1 and what should does it accept first name first name. Let me see first name No, it didn't do anything. So let's think what is the main problem. This is the main problem. Now it should show Muhammad Super. Now concatenation. Let me add the concatenation space concatenation and object of object of the employees index Muhammad Altaf index employees index one dot dot last name Altaf Mustaq Muhammad Mustaq. So now concatenation and concatenation Altaf. Now I'm going to print the value of the Altaf. So object dot employees index 0 that should be is equal to first name first name. What could be the main problem? Object dot employees index 0 dot first name it should call. Mm, Let me concatenation and this I have to concatenate here. Now it is showing Muhammad Altaf, Muhammad Mustaq and Altaf. Wow, super. So we can get so we can convert the JSON text into the very JavaScript object, and we can access that object with the very with the object with that array having three objects, values of the three objects. Okay. Superb! We have learned the basic knowledge of the JSON. You can read more about JSON in our tutorial. JSON tutorial. Okay. JavaScript debugging. Error will happen every time you write some new computer code. Code debugging program might contain syntax error or logical error. Program code might contain syntax error or logical error. Many of these errors are difficult to diagnose. Often, when programming code contains errors, nothing will happen. There are no error message. You will get no indication where to search for error. Searching for searching for and fixing error in programming code is called programming code debugging. Searching an error and fixing that one that's error in programming code is called code debugging. JavaScript debugger. Debugger is not easy. Debugging is not easy, but fortunately, all modern browsers have a built-in JavaScript debugger. Fortunately, all modern browsers have a built-in JavaScript debugger that's happy to know. Built-in debuggers can be turned on and off. Built-in debuggers can be turned on and off, forcing error to be reported to the user. Forcing errors reported to the user. With a debugger, you can also set breakpoint places where code execution can be stopped and examine variable while the code is executing. In debugger, you can also set the breakpoint breakpoints mean places where code execution can be stopped. Breakpoint where the code execution can be stopped and examine variables while the code is executing. Normally, otherwise, the following setups at the bottom of this page. You can activate debugging in your browser with the F12 key and select console in the debugger menu. Console in the debugger menu. So I will not use the key of F12 because I'm going to record. I'm recording my video. It will be stopped. So what will I do? I will debug the errors with the help of console.log console.log method. If your browser for debugging, you can use console.log method to display JavaScript values in the debugger window. Okay. This is the script A is equal to 5b, C, B is equal to 6, C is equal to A plus B. Console.log C. Console.log C. Console.log method into C. So here what I need to do, I need to create a variable A, B and C. Okay, here it is not creating a variable to find the error. 5 B is equal to 6, C is equal to what? A plus B. This is the logical error. This is a logical operation. So what now I am going to do, I am going to write the console.log method where I will pass the value of C variable and will see in my browser. Still it doesn't do anything. Here there is a console. Index.html.15, the code of line 15. This shows 11. Wow, superb. This is a method of the debugging an error. Read more about the console.log method in our JavaScript console reference. Okay, we will learn all the references of the languages that we have learned in the previous school. We will learn the references later. Setting breakpoint in the debugger window. You can set breakpoints in the JavaScript code. In the debugger window, you can set breakpoints in the JavaScript code. At each breakpoint, JavaScript will stop executing and let you examine JavaScript values. After examining values, you can resume the execution of code, typically with a play button. The debugger keyword. The debugger keyword stops the execution of a JavaScript and calls if available the debugging function. The debugger keyword stops the execution of JavaScript and calls if value to the debugging function. Keyword stops the execution of JavaScript and calls if the value if available the debugging function. Okay. This has the same function as setting a breakpoint in this has the same function as setting a breakpoint in the debugger. If no debugging is available, the debugger statement has no effect. With the debugger turned on, this code will stop executing before it executes the third line. Before executing to the third line, with the debugger turned on, this code will stop executing before the execution of the third line. Okay, let's see. 75. With the debugger turned on, the code below should stop executing before it executes the third line. So now let me create a variable x. Then the file now debugger now debugger. This is the variable document.get demo. Demo inner HTML is equal to what x have been saved. $50. What is 50? 10 multiplied by 50 debugger. Now I want to go to the inspect page. I will go into the console. There is nothing. There is nothing. Why? I really didn't get the use of the debugger. It will stop executing before it executes the third line. Major browsers debugging tool. Normally, you activate debugging tool in your browser with F12 key and select console in the debugger menu. Otherwise, following these setups. Chrome, open the browser from the menu. Open the browser from the menu, select more tools. That's me. Let's open my browser in the more tools. Okay. More tools. From tools, choose developer tools. From tools, I should choose the developer tool. Where is the developer tool? Developer tool. This is inspect. Okay. Finally, select console. I have to select it. I don't need to see these browsers because I don't use them for now. Did you know what should I do? What should I know? Debugging is the process of testing, finding, and reducing bugs in computer programs. The first known computer bug was a real bug, an insect stuck in the electrons. An, in, an insect stuck in the electron. The first known computer bug was a real bug, and insects they stuck but an insect, and it was an insect that stuck in the electronics. Okay. So let's move to the next. JavaScript style guide. JavaScript style guide. Always use the same code convention for all your JavaScript projects. Always use the same code convention for all your JavaScript projects. Okay. JavaScript coding convention. Coding convention are style guidelines for programming. They typically cover name and declaration rules for variable and function, rules for the use of white spaces, indentation and comments, programming practices and principles. And principles. Programming practices and principles. Practices and principles. They typically cover name declaration rule of the variable and function, rule for the use of the white spaces, indentation and comments, programming practices and principles, coding conventions secure quality, improve code readability, make code maintenance easier. Code convention can be documented rule for team to follow, or just by your individual coding practice. Individual coding practice. This page describes the general JavaScript code convention used by the WC school. You should also read the next chapter, Best Practices, where you learn how to avoid coding pitfalls. Okay, we will learn this chapter too. Variable names. At W3 school, we use camel case for identifier. This is the camel case. Names, variable, and function. All names start with a letter. All the bottom of this page. At the bottom of this page, you will find a wider discussion about the naming rule. First name is John, last name is Doi, price is equal to 19.90, text is equal to 0.20. Then what should it do? It will calculate the text and plus the text into the final price. The full price is equal to price plus price multiplied by text. Text is 0.20, 121. The answer will be added here. Okay. Spaces around operators. Always put space around operators is equal to plus minus static division and after commas and after commas. Example: variable x is equal to y plus z. Variable values is equal to value valve sub fiat. Code indentation, code indentation. Always do special for indentation of code block. Indentation of code block. Function to Celsius Fahrenheit. Return 5 debian 9 static Fahrenheit minus 32. Do not use tabulator. That's mean to say that tabulator. Tabulator. Different editor interprets tab differently. Okay. Interpret tabs differently. Statement rules. General rule for simple statements. Always end a simple statement with a semicolon. Simple statement with a semicolon. Okay. This is ended with the semicolon, but the multiple statement with the comma. and this statement has been done, then it should be included with semicolon. General rule for complex compound statement. Put the opening bracket at the end of the first line. Okay, it has been opened. Use one space before the opening bracket. Okay. Put the closing bracket on a new line. Exactly, we don't need to learn these rules because we have the beautify option in our editor, but it will be a beneficial for growing the knowledge how to put the code. Use one space before the opening bracket. Put the closing bracket on new. Do not end a put the closing bracket on a new line without leading spaces. Do not end a complex statement with the semicolon. Do not end a complex statement with the semicolon. Function should be written this. Row should be written like this. Conditional condition conditional if time is less than 20, greeting is equal to good day, else greeting is equal to good evening. Condition should be written like this. Object rules. General rule for object definition. Place the opening brackets on the same line as the bracket name. Opening bracket same name as the object name. Okay. Use colon. Last one space between each property and its value. One canon. It is talking about this. So use quotes around string value, not around numeric values. Well, we got it. Do not add a comma after the last property value pair. Bad and good. Place the closing bracket on the new line without leading spaces. Bad. Always end an object definition with a semicolon with the help of this. Short objects can be written compressed on one line using spaces only between properties like this. Short objects can be written compressed on one line using spaces only between properties like this. Variable person is an object is equal to bracket first name John, last name Joy, age 15, a color blue. You can also add the spaces, but no need to add this in a single line of code. Line length must is less than 80. For readability, the lines longer than 80 characters. For a JavaScript statement not fit on one line. If a JavaScript statement does not fit on one line, the best practice to break it after an operator or a comma. After an operator or a comma. If there is an operator, we can break it. If there is a comma, we can break it. One new line. Now I'm only going to practice this code of line into two lines by breaking this line of code. This is the line of code and I want to break it. It must be with the concatenation, but no need. Now let me also add the concatenation, the end, the end. Breaking the line of code into different lines. Naming convention. Always use the same naming convention for all your code. For example, naming convention. Variable and function names written as camel case. Global variables written in uppercase. We don't, but it's quite common. Global variables written in the uppercase. We don't, but it's quite common. Okay. Camel case. Constant like pi written in uppercase. Value can't be changed like pi. You should use hyphen, camel case, or underscore in the variable names. Should you? This is answering. This is asking the question. This is a question program often discussed. The answer depends on why who you ask. Hyphen in the HTML and CSS. HTML5 attribute can start with the data hyphen, data quantity, and data price. CSS uses hyphen in the property name, font size. Hyphen can be mistaken and as subtraction attempts. Hyphens are not allowed in the JavaScript names. Okay. Subs, sub, sub, subtraction. Underscores. Many programmers prefer to use underscore date of birth, especially in SQL databases. Yes, I know. Underscores are often used in PHP documentation well. Pascal case. Pascal case are often preferred by C programmers. Camel case. Camel case is used by the JavaScript itself by jQuery or other JavaScript libraries. Do not start name with a dollar sign. It will put you into conflict with many JavaScript library names. Okay. Loading JavaScript in HTML. Use simple syntax for leading external JavaScript. The type attribute is not necessary. Loading JavaScript in HTML. Use simple syntax for loading external script. The type attribute is not easy. Loading JavaScript in HTML. Use simple syntax for loading the external. The type attribute is not necessary. Script is JS script. Accessing HTML elements. A consequence for using unity of entity of the HTML. Entity HTML style might result in JavaScript errors. These two JavaScript statements will produce result. Assessing the HTML accessing unity errors, JavaScript errors. These two JavaScript statements will produce different results. Object get element by added demo. Object obj.get element by id. If possible, use the same naming as JavaScript in HTML. This is the HTML style guide. File extension. HTML file should have a HTML extension. HTML.htm is allowed. CSS file should have the CSS extension. JavaScript file should have the JS extension. Use lowercase file names. Most web server Apache Unix are case sensitive about the file names. Case sensitive. London.jpg cannot be accessed as London.jpg. Other web browser Microsoft IIS are not case sensitive. London.jpg can be accessed as London.jpg or London.jpg. If you use a mix of upper and lower case, you have to be extremely consistent. If you move from case insensitive to a case sensitive server, even small errors can break your website. To avoid these problems, always use lowercase file name if possible. Performance. Coding conventions are not used by computers. Most rules have the little impact on the execution of programs. Indentation and extra spaces are not significant in small scripts. For code in development, readability should be preferred. Large production scripts should be minified. For the code in development, readability should be preferred. Large production scripts should be minified. Indentation and extra spaces are not significant in small scripts. Okay. Coding conventions are not used by the computer. Most rules have little impact on the execution of the program.